All right, welcome everybody to the second installment of the Real Talk with Digital Marketing Experts webinar series. Thank you all for joining us today. My name is Ashley Height. I am the SEM manager here at Cougar Digital Marketing. And joining me today to talk about how companies can harness the power of Google My Business to boost their online presence is Josh Kendall, who is the Creative Director and Resident Google My Businesser here at Cougar Digital. Thanks, Josh, for joining us tonight.
Hey, thanks, Ashley. Thanks for having me. Thanks for the intro. Hope it didn't get cut off. I know that when we hit that play button, it's like we go, go, go. And so if you're just joining us, thanks for coming on. We are excited to be here. And today we're going to be talking about Google My Business, which is the kind of #1 factor that is influencing local SEO and where you rank in search results for not only branded searches, which we'll talk about, but keyword searches. I started using Google My Business like about 2.5 years ago as Google started to make it more robust. And really put a lot of resources towards it, and it started to more heavily influence where you started to rank. So that being said, what we want to do today is give you a solid overview of what Google My Business is, delve into how to leverage it for your business, and explain how it's been evolving to become the most important signal influencing local SEO. So let's jump right in. What is Google My Business? And so stay with me. Sometimes I might say GMB. All that stands for is Google My Business. It's kind of a mouthful. So if you hear GMB during this webinar, it just stands for Google My Business, which is a listing out on the web that we're going to get to. Google My Business is a suite of tools that Google offers business owners to manage their branded profiles. These profiles get returned in search results in what are called knowledge panels and are often the first thing that people see associated with your business online. It used to be that that was going to be your website and you had full control over your website and you would optimize the heck out of it and make it really robust. That first touch is now happening inside of Google. So you want to pay attention to this space and optimize yourself in that space as well. You still need a website, but Google My Business is kind of this new buffer zone that you also need to be paying attention to. I mentioned Knowledge Panel in there, and I'm going to explain what that is here in a minute, but just know that Knowledge Panel is almost synonymous with your Google My Business listing. Once you control your Google My Business listing, you control what's historically been called the Knowledge Panel, is a body of information about your business. So we'll go over that in a minute. So here we go. What Google My Business is basically the new phone book, only better. Now, instead of a static ad that you get and pay for once a year, you have an interactive, evolving suite of tools that you can use in real time and engage your audience. So, and don't forget that this new phone book is now in everyone's pocket, right next to their wallet. So this is a space that you definitely want to have control of and be paying attention to on an ongoing business. It is no longer a set it and forget it type of scenario. This is a space that definitely deserves some of your marketing time budget and possibly monetary budget. Okay, we've talked about that becoming increasingly important for businesses to pay attention to and optimize. So let's go on to the next one. How is Google My Business useful? I've got 2 words for you, and that is the knowledge panel. I've got an example here up on the screen, and that's here. So here, you're seeing that knowledge panel. That's the tip of ours. I'm going to show you it in its entirety in a moment. You might not know that word, knowledge panel, but I guarantee you've seen these in action. Any branded search often is going to return a knowledge panel. And a branded search is simply a Google search or a different search engine that is done by your business name. So Cougar Digital Marketing, or whatever the name of your business is, some portion of your name is in that search. That's called a branded search. And that often returns the knowledge panel. I'm going to show you here the full entirety of ours. Ours has been well optimized. We're taking advantage of every tool inside of this suite of tools that's inside of Google My Business. And we are trying to put our best foot forward. We are trying to make it as robust as possible. We're trying to represent our business well and on brand inside of Google before they ever get to our website, so that we're then encouraging a click to our website or a phone call, which are all things that Google My Business does. You can call right from there. That phone number that you see there on screen, that's clickable. That website link you see, that's clickable. This is super valuable screen real estate inside of Google. And once you claim your Google My Business listing, you have control over that screen real estate. You can change it, you can alter it, you can make it more robust. And we're going to talk about how to do that logistically. And I'll continue to provide examples of why that's important. And it's going to have to do with how interrelated this tool is with not only search, but Google Maps. And we'll get to that in a minute. So let's go to the next slide. So if it was just branded searches, Google My Business wouldn't have the influence that it's having. It is not only branded searches, it is directly linked to your listing in what's called the local pack. And that controls local SEO, search engine optimization. And in play, it is that 3-pack that you see there that comes with a map. Sometimes they'll slide an ad in there, but traditionally, historically, you're getting 3 results that Google says are the most pertinent, highly based on location, but a myriad of other factors that all play into local SEO. The number 1 factor is your Google My Business listing and how well optimized it is. And that means there is a path for discovery. So the next slide is going to have a survey that Bright Local took. Bright Local is an SEO company that's out there that did an analysis of 45,000 Google My Business listings and came back with a whole bunch of information about how that went. I've got a few more stats later in the webinar, but this first one is 84% of Google My Business views were discovery searches. So people are using this, typing in keywords that are related to your business, like for us, digital marketing or marketing companies near me, or Google, how do I optimize my Google My Business? And so that is then leading them to a local pack that is connected to your knowledge panel. Every listing on that local pack, if I go back for just a second, show you that local pack, each of those 3 listings that you see there are all connected to a Google My Business listing. I click on those. I can get to the website. I can bypass it, but often the people are like, hey, they click right on your listing. That goes to your knowledge panel. Now, if you are vying for top spot in this 3-pack and you've got competitors that are also doing, and they've got reviews, it could be that your Google My Business listing and how well optimized it is, it could be the decision maker. And I've got an example of that later in the webinar that we'll talk about. So let's catch it back up to where we are. As I mentioned, claiming and verifying your Google My Business profile gives you access and control over all this information and the highly visible Google search real estate that comes with it. Once you have access, you can go in and use the tool set that we're going to go over to make your listing more robust. I'm going to show you what the dashboard looks like. I'm going to show you how to use the individual tools. I'm not going to be able to cover all aspects. It's just out of the scope of this webinar, but I am going to be able to help you get kind of started and rolling. So things that you can control are on your online footprint. So with Google My Business is your core information. This just makes sense, right? It's your phone number, your address, your website link, all that stuff, your links. So again, your website link, an appointments link. Sometimes a restaurant will have a menu link, things like that. The Q&A. So every GMB has a Q&A section that you see here. So questions and answers. Anybody can come leave a question and anybody can come answer it. And that may or may not be what you want. You may not want Joe Schmo answering your customer's information. That's another reason to be paying attention to this space and be on top of it so that you can come in and provide an on-brand, robust answer to whatever question your prospect may have. Again, you can control your reviews and your posts. We'll talk about those in a little bit. It might not make a ton of sense right now, or maybe you've been using them and you know a little bit about those. And then the biggest thing is, too, that this is an evolving tool set that is changing over time. Google is putting more stuff into it and changing the way some of the tools interrelate and interlinking them in ways that you might not know about and might not say, hey, I don't need to add products because I don't have physical products for sale. Well, if I'm coming at it from a standpoint like that, I'm going to use that product area. I'm going to convert something into a product so that I can take advantage of that screen real estate that's then getting pulled into other areas of the internet, like Google Maps and your local pack list. I'll show you a little bit more about how that works as we go. All right, so claiming and optimizing your Google My Business listing leads to an increase in traffic, website traffic, better search visibility, improved search rankings, and new customers. I've got a few of those Bright Local stats that we'll go over that really make sense and kind of illustrate this. I did want to take a quick poll and see. I'm going to launch this poll. You guys can vote. I've got 2 questions there. If you kind of just do those and answer those. In the meantime, I'm going to give you a little bit of historical perspective on Google My Business and kind of how it evolved. And one question I also have for you is, who remembers Google+? Google+ has died. And I bring this up, one, it's evolved into Google My Business. Google has shifted those resources into Google My Business. And 2, it just goes to show that not all Google ideas are good ones. They're always testing things. They're always trying to kind of push things forward, all with the same goal of getting the best result for a prospect, a user, and monetizing their product. But it goes to show you that not everything works out for Google. So, but this product, Google My Business, is like Google Plus 2.0. I'm gonna go ahead and end this poll. Looks like we got some responses there, and we'll see what we get. But this tool now has teeth. Google has interwoven Google My Business with search and the way that people are already searching, and maps and the way that people are using maps. And there's a lot to digest here, and there's a lot to use. It's a good product. It still has some issues, and we're going to talk a little bit about that, what can go wrong with Google My Business. But this is an excellent suite of tools for small business owners to use to optimize their profiles and get more search traffic and ultimately more customers. All right, so I'm going to share those results now. Can you see that, Ashley, on your screen?
Sure can.
Okay, cool. So have you claimed your Google My Business? Looks like 75% of you have. That's awesome. 25% no. Last time you touched it was the leading is within the last month. So that's awesome. And that I would encourage you to keep that up. There's somebody's, how do I log in? That's a problem. I would encourage you to clear that up. We'll talk a little bit about that here. And we've got at the end of this webinar, we do have a free asset. So I encourage you guys to stay on the webinar. We're going to try to keep it right to 30 minutes, but I will have a PDF link that you can go to, or a link to a PDF that is downloadable that has clickable links to a bunch of useful assets that are all centered around Google My Business. I'm going to stop sharing that poll. That's kind of the results there. That's awesome that, you know, the most percentage of people are in that within the last month, because that's what this tool is designed to do. That's what Google wants. They want you engaged with their product. And so there's going to be dividends for people that stay engaged, stay on top of the new features, and make their listing as robust as possible. So let me stop sharing that. And cool, next slide. You guys with me? You with me, Ashley?
We're with you.
Okay, here we go. Because we're gonna dive in. We're gonna talk about actually how do you do it. So if you wanna engage with Google My Business, this is the website. Google has built out a robust platform for this specific set of tools. And it's google.com/business. That's where you go if you wanna get started with Google My Business. There is one caveat to that, that you may see a knowledge panel or a Google My Business listing out in the wild, and it's going to be unclaimed. Google's got enough information that they start to cultivate this knowledge panel with whatever they can find. But it'll have clickable text right on it that says own this business. So you can click on that, and then Google's going to take you to this website, have you jump through a few hoops and verify that business. That's the first step to really get engaged with it, is you need to claim and verify. Verification takes place through usually a phone call where they give you a code and you input that code, and that's connecting the dots to tell Google that you are who you say you are and you're doing business at this location. There's also a physical postcard that gets sent in snail mail, and same type of deal though, you got to put in a code. Once you do that, you connect that goes live. You have control over the live edits. When you make edits, we're going to go to the dashboard in a moment. When you make edits in your dashboard, Google always puts up a little kind of message that says, hey, it can take up to 3 days for these edits to go live. Often it happens much more quickly than that, but that's kind of how it works. So this is the website. This is where you go. Yeah, there are some more advanced verification options. Sometimes they'll do a video screen share if they have questions or issues. So just be aware that there are some more options. Those are the most common. You should do the phone if you have that option because it's immediate. Do the postcard if you have to. Don't have a PO box. That's not actually allowed under Google's terms of service. You got to have an address. You can hide that address from the public. You're going to designate yourself what's called an SAB, a service area business. And there's more on that in the Google documentation, and we'll go over some of that in a few slides. So this is the dashboard. This is what it looks like. This screen here that you see is just kind of the dashboard blown up, and I actually have it in full view for you on the right-hand side. What you're seeing there on the right that's kind of cut off is the home screen. And I almost never use the home screen. Google clutters it up with a whole bunch of stuff from all these other tools that you see in the list there. Posts, info, insights, all that stuff's available to you on the home screen, but I use this stack. This is your tool set. This is where you want to be if you want to start leveraging this tool. Right over here on that kind of stack of tools, starting with home, which I never use, like I said, and I'm going to dive into these one by one, give you a kind of a little bit of a bird's eye view of what it looks like, what I do with it, and how that works. So the very first one is posts, and you can see that here. Ashley, do you see my Pointer?
Yep, we sure do.
Okay, cool. Just not sure if that was coming through. So posts are interesting. Posts are a very interesting product from Google, and it's evolving. The most important thing to keep in mind is, and they've put it as the very top thing. They've done that on purpose. They want people to engage this tool. This tool, among more than any of the others, is blurring the lines a little bit between search and social. And that's a good thing for Facebook, or excuse me, for Google, because they're trying to compete with Facebook. Google is trying to blur that line a little bit and capture some of that social media energy that's out there on the web and users. And we're going to talk about a new feature where you can follow businesses on maps in another slide. But posts, let's get back to posts. I say use them. Yes, you should. I got little kids at home and I do the cat in the hat thing all the time, but that's what I would say about posts. I would be using them. It's really easy. It's super intuitive. If you click on that button, it's going to take you right to a little box that says, hey, push up your post. If you've done anything like Facebook or Google Plus back in the day, it's the same type of deal. They're going to want an image, a little bit of text that says what you're talking about, and then ideally a link. I've seen some businesses use posts without a link. Don't do that. Use a link, and use a trackable link that we're going to talk about in a minute, but definitely put a link in there, because that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to grab people's attention and push them to your website where you've got more content, or get them to call. You can have a call only link as well inside of posts. There's a bunch of different kinds of posts, and update and offer videos can be used in posts, something to keep in mind. There's a few different categories. An event, a couple of the categories such as events and offers are allowed to be a little bit sticky. By default, posts only last 7 days. And again, this is Google's ploy to get you to engage with this tool and keep coming back. So that being said, though, there is kind of a hack. You can use an event or an offer and get a little bit more traction out of that and have it last a little bit longer. So that's posts. Use them, explore that tool. We've got kind of an automation that we set up. If you go to our Google My Business listing, you're going to see 10 posts, because that's how many you can have actively, but according to the rules of Google. So what we do is we have 10 optimized posts and have them there all the time, so that we've got a little carousel of content that other companies probably don't take the time to do. If you're interested in that type of a feature, reach out to us after the webinar. Let's go down to the next one. Info. Info is all your core information. This is a more of set it and forget it type of area. You're going to set all that stuff mostly once, except that Google's changing things all the time and adding the abilities to put more labels on your business. They just added the ability for hotels to designate amenities. So they have this big list of amenities, and you can select which ones. That happens under the info tab. But you're going to set your address, phone number, all that important stuff, and it's got boxes for you, so you don't have to do rocket science. Just go in and fill out all those boxes. The rule of thumb for me on this product is I fill out every box that I can as robustly as I can, as long as it makes sense for my business. The one tidbit that I will give you here for info is that you should be using trackable links. Now, if you don't know what a trackable link is and that kind of weirds you out, know that it's pretty simple. They're simple to make and simple to use. And the reason you want to use them is it's going to give you more information downstream when you're looking at your analytics. We build websites for a living, and we're always looking at analytics month to month, year over year. And if you don't use a trackable link inside of Google My Business, the very next tool is Insights. So you're going to get some insights, but you're going to get a mo better picture of what's going on with your business and where the traffic's coming from in a dedicated product like Google Analytics and Search Console. Two tools that we use extensively to help figuring out what's going on with a Google My Business listing and a website, how they're interrelated, how one's driving traffic to the other, how much traffic, where it's coming from, which parts of the profile are they clicking on, all that good stuff. And if you are using a trackable link, also called a UTM link, you can Google that. You can go to Google's URL builder, and it'll help you build it. You just put some pieces of information into their product there, their tool, and it's going to kick out a link, which is the link that you want it to go to, just tagged with a couple extra pieces of information that tells you where that traffic came from. That's my one tip for info. Use a trackable link for your website button, your appointments button. Any post links should have a trackable link, because you can relate it back to that post. You can start seeing which posts are getting some traction with your audience and do more like that. And they should also consider possibly using a call tracking number for your phone number, a dedicated one for Google My Business, so you can really see what kind of an impact it's having and see those calls sandbox from the rest of your calls that your business is getting.
Hey Josh, let me jump in real quick. I
Yeah,
got a
yeah.
question from one of our attendees. Once I optimize my listing, so all this info, for instance, if I'm going in and claiming for the first time, how long does it take for that info to display? Is it immediate or does it need to go through some sort of approval process? What's that like?
Yeah, that's a good question. So it depends on, is it verified yet? So like if you verified it, like you jumped through the hoop, you gave Google their code, then you're gonna be live on the internet. That stuff's gonna be live. But remember, any edits that you make, Google puts the little caveat in there that, hey, this could take up to 3 days. And sometimes it depends on what information you're changing. If you're changing everything, then it might take a little bit. Google has, ostensibly some systems and processes that it puts everything through. I will mention too, that if you change your address, you are possibly going to have to re-verify. So keep that in mind. It happens. And it doesn't always happen. I have changed an address for a business that moved, and I did not have to re-verify, but I've also done it the other way. So you're at a little bit of the whim of the Google gods. But we do have some support resources in that PDF at the end that are going to help with that type of stuff. But that's my answer is Google's going to say up to 3 days. If I go in and make a change to a listing that I own and have verification control over, it usually happens lickety split. So, yeah, so let's keep going. Where are we at here? We are on info. We talked about that. I gave you the trackable links tip. Insights. I don't spend a lot of time in Insights because, like I said, we're using Google Analytics and Search Console to really get a better, more robust picture of what's happening with our online digital footprint. But Insights is nice. It's right inside this tool set where you're already going to be spending some time. Hopefully, after today, I've convinced you of that. So you can take a look at that. Historically, there have been some conversations among SEOs about things not matching up. I would say over time, Google's probably going to iron that out a little bit, but there is still some value in, again, like using trackable links. So that you can really segment your data downstream. Inside of Insights, you can look at year over year or at least month to month. I don't know if they have year over year. You might have to kind of make yourself a report and figure that out on your own. Anyway, let's keep going. Insights I don't use a lot, like I said, but it is there for you. You can explore that. Reviews are super important across the board, but Google reviews are kind of the #1 player because it's connected to Google and everyone's using Google, searching for things that they want to do or buy or use. So this is where you control your Google reviews. You can come here and you can respond to reviews, which you should be doing. You should respond to every single review that your business gets, and you should do it more robustly than just thank you. You should figure out, if you say, for us, we have a content writer on staff. So we're going to really kind of massage that language, get some keywords in there. And that's what I would recommend you do as well, even if it's not using a professional content writer. Make it from the mouth of your business, almost like you're talking to that person. Hey, thank you very much for leaving us a review. We really appreciated working with you through this website project. It looks dazzling. We're looking forward to the next project already. You can get creative. You want to mention keywords because all of this information is indexed by Google, and they're starting to interrelate these tools, and information from your reviews can now get auto-populated to your Q&A section. And I'll talk about that in a minute. I've got a slide on that. So I won't go too much further into that, but you should be asking for reviews. And even if you're in the financial sector, it is, there's a lot of restrictions around the financial industry about asking for reviews. Because Google is the publisher, actually the user is the publisher, they're publishing that review, and Google's the owner. It is currently accepted in the financial industry that getting Google reviews is an opportunity, and it can differentiate you in Google My Business because a lot of financial advisors aren't doing that, so it becomes a low-hanging fruit that you can possibly use to get some traction. So something to think about.
Hey Josh, another question. So can they control the order in which the reviews display in the knowledge panel?
Nope. So that is filterable by the user, and the user can do most recent and highest and lowest. That's what you can search by, and that is controlled by the user.
And that's why the opportunity to respond to like negative reviews is so great, is because if that negative review pops up top, you have the opportunity to either say, hey, this is a misunderstanding or whatever.
Yep, that's absolutely true. Yeah, I like that too. And I view negative reviews as an opportunity. They suck. Nobody likes to get a 1-star review about your business. Who wants that? But I wouldn't let it ruin your day. I am going to research that, figure out what happened, What's going on? Is it for real? Is it legit? Does my business have a problem? Because then you need to go upstream. That's not going to fix that. And then you're going to respond to that negative review in a super professional manner that shows other clients or prospects that are looking at that, how you handle things and how you run your business. So that's what I have to say about that. Negative reviews do happen, and sometimes they're legit, and sometimes they're not. There has been a negative review spam issue with Google My Business. Google is always, trying to improve their product, so things come and go, but definitely something to be aware of. And it is one of the things that I'll call out later that you want to, another reason to stay on top of this product and be aware of your listing and be kind of managing it on an ongoing basis. All right, so I'm going to go down to the next one, messaging. Messaging is in your Google My Business profile. There is on the front end that a user sees, you can turn on a chat button. That's what this is. You can turn on messaging. You can connect it to a phone number. If you do that, it just connects it to your phone. That message comes in just like a text message from one of your friends. Super easy to use, super easy to manage, a viable communication medium that a lot of people are not using yet, and allows you to open up a new one. And it's super attractive to millennials and super easy to manage. There was one more thing I was going to say about that. My advice is to turn it on. The other thing I was going to say is that not a lot of people are trained to use this yet. So it's going to be something that's evolving over time, like the rest of the tool set. But as more and more users, especially millennials, start to figure out that this is a thing, oh man, they're going to use it. And so you might as well plug yourself in so that you are prepared to take advantage of that new communication medium. Ashley,
I can vouch for that because I'm a millennial and I don't want to talk to people.
Yep. And I have like a real life story that kind of brings that all together that I'm going to share with you guys here in a minute after we go over this tool set. So let's move on to the next one. You can turn that on. It's super easy. If you're a restaurant and you want those to come to a certain person, all you would do is log into your Google My Business dashboard and just change the phone number that's associated with it, or add a user. You would probably add a user and you'd want to go into the messaging and make sure that that user is turned on for messaging. So let's look at the next one. We got photos. Photos are huge, and the Google My Business survey that Bright Local did is going to speak to that a little bit. There's a stat on that, but basically businesses are using this, but not as much as they could be. And the businesses that get more good quality photos in their listing get more searches and more requests for directions. And so it's just a rule of thumb that continually add photos. Most brands have photos associated with their brand already. So there's no reason not to push those into Google My Business. And then if you do a photo shoot or you do something new or you have a new product, push that into Google My Business. This is the area where people are looking, and your opportunity to get visually, we're talking a lot about text, how you get your information in front of them, get your brand and your information in front of them visually as well. So add them on a regular basis, is a good rule of thumb, like monthly or, even bi-monthly. Or if you've got a really active business and photos are changing, you might want to consider upping that game a little bit. So next on the list is going to be services. You're allowed to put in your services, and that gets you an extra tab of information, especially on mobile, about what your business does. I would add all my services if I'm a small business, and I would have robust descriptions in there about what those are. You can have pricing. We don't have pricing for a lot of ours because a lot of times there's going to be a custom quote involved, depending on what they're looking for, but there is a spot to do it. So if you had a special or something, you could get pricing right in there, which might be attractive to a user and might encourage that click or that call. Next up in the line, we've got website. Okay, so Google includes a free website inside of Google My Business. Holy cow, right? This tool, like the whole suite, is evolving and changing. Right now, it's a good option for a small business that has zero budget for a website. You're going to get a one-pager that doesn't have the teeth inside of SEO that you're really going to want long-term. But what Google's going to do is they're going to take all the information that you've already put in, the photos, the information that you put into Google My Business in the info panel, and they're going to kind of auto-magically make you a website that doesn't look too bad. So it is somebody that doesn't have a website, has no budget for a website, I'm plugging this in. That being said, that the one tip I have for you here is to be sure to buy your own domain. Go out to a domain reseller like GoDaddy or HostGator, those places that sell domains, and buy your own domain, which is an annual cost of, $20 or something, depending on the domain. And don't use the domain that Google's going to kind of give you out of the box. It's going to be kind of a gobbledygook. Just a rule of thumb and a better practice long-term. So I'm going to skip over website for now. That's kind of what that is and why you should look at it if you don't have any budget at all for a website. I haven't actually played with that tool in a while because obviously we build websites that are much more robust and there hasn't been a need for me to. So the next and last tool in your main tool set is just users. That's where you can manage who has access to this platform. And remember, you just go to google.com/business and log in with your Gmail account. And then you're going to have access to a dashboard. You can add people that they can then log in with their Gmail account and get access to the same dashboard so that you can share the workload, share that ability to get in there and update that information. And it's pretty simple. You just invite users via email. They have to accept it. Once they do that, there's like 3 classifications of user: primary owner, and manager. So we'll be on there. We'll set up when we create these and help clients optimize, we set them up as the primary owner. We stay on as an owner because it gives us full privileges. But you could have a manager on there where they dumb it down a little bit too. So that is your core tool set. That's where you want to be living with Google My Business. The stuff below that is create an ad. That is a link to AdWords Express. So it's kind of Google's dumbed down version of AdWords. And I wouldn't recommend it because if you use AdWords, you get a much more robust tool set. And if you're going to be spending money on Google, you might as well make it as robust as possible so you have the best chance of garnering those clicks for your money. But they do make it easy. They make it easy to spend some money and get started with an ad lickety split. So be careful of that. Add a new location. That would just be adding another business that would then have its own Google My Business dashboard. You'd have multiple dashboards. We have a big, long kind of laundry list because we manage it for clients. If you only have one, you log right into the dashboard. If you have multiple businesses, then it takes you to kind of a parent screen that has those listed out, and then you select which one from that menu. Now, down below that is just some kind of housekeeping stuff that I'm not really going to delve into. It's controlling your settings, and there is the support button at the bottom. We've got a link that's a little easier, direct line to support. There's a phone number. There's the Google or the Twitter handle for Google My Business. But if you click on support in your dashboard, it will walk you through their documentation, and it's kind of a rabbit hole sometimes getting a real person, but you can, and their support is pretty good, although there have been varying timelines. All right. Sorry for all of the fire hose. Go ahead, Ashley.
I was like, sorry about that. I got one more question. Going back to the messaging, how does that work if I'm a business owner? Most likely I've got a landline. Does that have to be connected to somebody with a mobile phone that's on my team?
Yep. You're going to connect that to a cell phone, to a mobile phone. Okay, so
there's no like desktop dashboard from which you can manage that.
I don't believe so. Not that I've seen. And like I said, this tool set evolves right now. And that tool has evolved since I set it up. But I'd have to go look because they did change it and it's running through a third-party system now. Like you have to connect the dots. I think when I did it, I just put in my phone number and boom. And I know that text messages right now just pop up on my cell phone.
Gotcha.
So that's kind of how that works. You might have to explore that tool a little bit. Like I said, it has changed since I originally set it up. So,
sounds good.
Okay. That's your dashboard in a pinch. I'm going to move on to the next slide if I can manage that. Here we go. Latest and greatest. That's kind of the key thing that I'm going to harp on continually here, and you've heard it already. This is an evolving product suite that Google is changing, putting more resources towards, changing the way things work, changing the way things interrelate, and I've got an example of that for you. So this next section is the question and answer section, which is on every single Google My Business listing. You see it right here. A lot of, business owners and people in general don't know that this is here, but it is. And anybody can come ask a question. There can be problems with spam. There can be problems with customers, not knowing information about the business that you would like them to know. So this is where you could come, keep tabs on this area and answer those questions. But the example that I want to tell you of how things are changing and interrelating are, let me go to the next slide. So if I come down here and change back real quick. So say somebody clicks on the ask a question and then they are presented with this over here. So you can see that I've typed in, what's Google My Business? What is Google My Business? And Google is auto-populating these results that you see on the right-hand side. Nothing has happened except me putting in that question. Google's trying to answer it for me. And it's answering it from information from your reviews, from the information right now, it's, let me see in my notes, reviews, Google Posts, and products. Products is a new section that we didn't cover in our tool set because it's only in, it's in beta, and it depends on your category. So you didn't see that one there, but it is. So I'm just trying to show you how these things are interrelated, and that providing robust information at all levels then gives you an opportunity to level up. So next slide. Again, this is a couple more examples of things that are newer and things that are interrelated. So know that your Google My Business listing is connected to Google Maps. It's interwoven with it. And now Google has rolled out the ability to follow businesses on Google Maps. That's what you see here. This is Crimson Vine Marketing, a sister company that Cougar Digital has launched here in the last year. And we're focusing specifically on the wine industry. You can see that I pulled them up on mobile, and there's a follow button there. So if you are producing content that's relevant to your users, they can now follow you. And what that does for you as a business owner, you can now do more posts that automatically get pushed to that person. If I click that follow button, I now have a new area of content called For You that Google is then curating and pulling in automatically. So you're posting over here as your business. Normally people have to discover you and figure out that, oh, they've got this content and it's in their posts. No, it's automatically going to get pulled into their feed and curated for them. So it's interesting. And like I said, this is a newer feature, and a lot of businesses don't know about this. They don't know that it's interrelated to posts. So something to definitely keep tabs on, and another reason to have posts be active in your Google My Business listing. The other thing I'll say is welcome offers. Welcome offers are simply a kind of post. When you go in to write a post, one of the categories that you can choose is an offer. If you choose that category, I mentioned before, it's a little stickier, so you can put an end date, a start date, and an end date rather than having it expire like a normal post. And offers get special treatment on maps, on mobile especially. So they get raised in the profile and are higher up than normal posts. Posts have been evolving. Posts in general, when Google first rolled them out, they were super visible. They were right under kind of the main picture, right under your address information, really highly visible. SEOs in the community got really excited about them, including myself. We built out kind of a robust automation. Then Google knocks them down, makes them a little further down the page. They're not as visible, not seeing as much traction. That could change at any point. Google could put them back up there, or they could do things like what they're doing now and kind of experimenting with taking that offer, special kind of post, putting it higher up on mobile for searches on maps. So those are two things to kind of keep in mind. I personally have I'd like to hear what you think, Ashley, but I feel like this follow function may not have as much legs as Google thinks it does, just because when I go to Google Maps, I'm looking for directions and I'm looking for a map. I'm not looking for interaction with the business necessarily, or maybe I just haven't been trained yet that you can interact. But what do you think?
I think you're right. I go to Google to search for something that I need right that second. I don't go to socialize, for lack of a better term. So I agree with you, but like you said, who knows? I mean, 10 years ago, I wouldn't have thought that I would interact with devices the way that I do now. So. Yep.
So two things that I'll say to just kind of tack on to that, and then we'll close this slide. One is that it could be that latter. If enough users get trained to look for special offers or coupons here, then this thing has legs. So that's what I'm doing if I'm a business. I'm putting a special offer or a coupon for some type of service that is an entry point to my business to facilitate that, that interaction. And then the second thing that I'll mention is that, I forgot what the second thing was. Maybe it'll come back around the horn. So let's just go on to the next slide. And remember that you can extend your functionalities with third parties as well. So this has a lot of implications for the future. Again, this being an evolving product that could change at any time. Right now, you can integrate things like bookings or making appointments. So if you already use one of these services that's listed out, you can then immediately plug Google My Business in and start taking those right through Google My Business. Everything's happening right there in Google My Business, which is a trend that is happening, and we'll talk about again in that story that I mentioned. So this is happening with bookings as well as menus or ordering online for restaurants. You can connect like Grubhub and ChowNow and things like that so that you can offer customers more ways to order food. Yeah, just talking about the use case for restaurants here. I'm gonna head to the next slide. What else is new? One caveat, keep in mind that sometimes new features are only tested in certain areas. And sometimes even when they pulled the trigger and said, hey, this is gonna be a feature, it rolls out slowly sometimes. So if you see things in your dashboard that look different, that's something to be aware of. That it could be a new tool they're adding, a new tool they're just testing. Some of the newest things to think about, and this is what I was gonna say on that last slide too, is the Google Assistant. So voice search is becoming up and coming, and that's another thing to kind of keep in mind when people are searching on maps. It's going to be connected to voice search, and voice search is also integrating with your Google My Business listing, because now you can do things like ordering online from a restaurant right through the Google Assistant. So you can say, okay, Google, order from China Express, Pan Express. And especially think about the use case there if you've done that before. That Google Assistant is going to know your previous order. It's going to know the stuff that you like to eat there. It's going to grease the wheels for that interaction happening again. So repeat business. And as a marketer, we all know that it's harder to get a new client than it is to keep an old one. So that's just a little kind of another nugget there to be aware of as voice search continues to evolve and kind of change the landscape. So again, you can make appointments through the Google Assistant as well, order food online. A request a quote button has recently popped up. Now, a couple of things on this one is it's only for branded searches, and you have to have messaging turned on. If you have those two things in place, you get a big blue button if somebody Googles your name that they can request a quote right there before they ever got to your website. So it makes sense for your Google My Business listing to be as robust as possible, and for you to have messaging turned on so that you have access to this big blue button that's super visible. Again, not a ton of people know about it. They don't know how to use it yet, but as more and more people get trained up, it's just gonna, kind of open up a new communication medium for you in the long game. So the next one on there is post text appearing in the local pack. Remember when we talked about the local pack? That's local SEO. That's that free pack that gets returned for keyword searches. It comes with a map. That is the local pack. Now, post text appearing, so underneath your listing, Google is starting to pull in content from your reviews, content from your website, and content from posts. So another reason, so if that keyword search, say it's digital marketers near me, if we've got a post that says in it, digital marketers near me, with some other language, it does have an opportunity to get pulled in, which makes that listing, that Google My Business listing that's appearing in the local pack more relevant to that searcher. It's going to have content that's exactly what they just searched for. So you're going to increase the likelihood that they click on your listing and follow through and possibly start a relationship with your business. The next thing I have on my list is pay to play. Interestingly enough, Google recently rolled out a survey to its Google My Business users saying, hey, how's it going? Would you like to pay us money for your Google My Business tool? So the results on this are mixed. Nobody knows really what's going to happen. It just goes to show, though, that Google may be looking to monetize this in the future, especially as they keep adding assets and resources towards it. I definitely could very easily see them monetizing some part of it, making like some paid upgrades or something, but know that right now the tool is free. We often help clients, there's a cost for us to come alongside, help you optimize it, help you keep it in play, but you can do it yourself. And that's really Google's they've tried to make it so that Google business owners can manage this themselves. Business owners are busy, and this is another thing in your hat, so sometimes it makes sense to have a marketer help you with. Next thing on the list is adding a short name. So this is a short name that appears in where you access this ability to add a short name is in your info panel. That one we already went over. It's going to be a line item on that. You can add a short name, almost like a website URL. So if you plug that in, right now, if you go to your Google My Business listing, the URL is going to be gobbledygook that you can never give to anybody. And it's like, a bunch of numbers and characters and stuff. Well, Google has recognized that, and this is a way to clean that up, make it so that you can then include your short name on your marketing materials. Again, it's good for Google because you're pointing people to their product. It's good for you because you're getting a handle that makes it really easy to point people to this really robust area inside of maps and search that you've already made really awesome. So I put EEK in the parentheses there. Just because when they rolled out this tool, people started using it, especially SEOs and marketing companies that kind of are early adopters, and listings actually started disappearing from search completely. Like your listing was gone. You could not find it. So, and that just points to two things. This is an ever-evolving product, and Google doesn't always get it right. And you need somebody, whether it's you, somebody on your staff, or a marketing agency, pick me, over in the corner. You need somebody paying attention because this is not a set it and forget it type of tool anymore. So adding a short name, you would just pick something that makes sense for your business, and then your URL is then going to become google.com/whatever your short name is. I think ours is Cougar Digital Marketing. The last one there, and I know this is a fire hose, so I appreciate you guys staying with me. We're going to get to a few stats and then a couple of assets for you. The local pack, they've started testing out a new version on mobile, and this is interesting. So I put carousel version in there. If you don't know what a carousel is, it's simply, you've seen them on Facebook. It's a carousel of content that starts with a little piece of content, and then you're able to kind of swipe through, almost like iTunes-esque. Well, now, instead of the local pack with 3 businesses right there, you see, you get an ad and then 1 business in a carousel. So it's changing the landscape a little bit. You might not think that's that big a deal, but as SEOs and marketers, we're always looking at stuff like that because you don't know how it's going to affect everything downstream. And really, you've just limited your visibility, because if you're not one of the top 3, now you need to be the top 1 in order to get those first eyeballs. So it's something to take a look at. SEOs have been talking about it in the industry, and they're definitely got like 1 eyebrow raise. I can't do that with my eyes, but here, there you go. So local pack carousel version. I'm going to go ahead and go to our next slide. Let's see what we got. We've got stats from Bright Local. You can see that I'm referencing this link down here from Bright Local. As I mentioned, Bright Local is an SEO company that we use for some citation building and reputation management stuff. They did a really robust study on like 45,000 Google My Business listings to see how people are using them, how it's playing out in the wild. And we have a link to that. It'll be in the PDF that we're going to give you. But I pulled out 3 that make sense to me. And really, when I take stats, because you can make up a statistic and make it say anything. But if it rings true, has impact, and then is also in line with the way that I use the internet and what I'm seeing on a daily basis, then I start to kind of go, oh, okay, maybe this has some more credence than Joe Schmo. But the very first one is 97% of all consumers have used reviews to pick which local businesses best suit their needs. Duh. Everybody knows that reviews are important. I bet in your own life, you see this practice in place. When you need something, you open up Google and you're looking at reviews, because Google puts them right there in your face. And for me, I'm looking at reviews. I'm looking to see how many they have, what the overall rating is, and how they responded to the bad ones. That's what I'm looking at. 42%, businesses with photos receive 42% more requests for driving directions. We talked about it before. More is better with photos, as long as they're good quality. Keep in mind too that users can upload their own photos, which may or may not be on brand for you. Likely it's a mixed bag. And if you're adding your own on brand photos in, you start to kind of drown that out and get the content that you've curated and that you want to have in front of your users in front of your users. So the last fact I have there is 64% of consumers have used Google My Business to contact local businesses. This number is going to climb. Okay. If you would like to open up a communication medium, you need to turn all those features that we've been talking about on and really be paying attention to this space. Underutilized options, areas that you can set yourself apart. Photos, businesses are using these, so are users. They're just not doing it as much as they could or as much as they should, especially based on the data that we've just looked at, that more good photos equals more customers. Videos are, you can put them in posts, you can put them in just with the photos. They're limited to 30 seconds right now. I could see that changing. They're also a little bit buried because they're just in there with photos, but I could see that changing at any time. So if you're an early adopter and you have a bunch of photos sitting in your videos sitting in your Google My Business, and then Google changes their algorithm and the way they're displaying those videos and makes it more visible, boom, you're on the front lines. Messaging, turn it on. Not a lot of businesses are using it. More and more users are going to get trained that it is a thing, and businesses that do use it will have an advantage. 360 images and walkthroughs, these are uploadable. You can get, even through your Google My Business listing, you can request one of these from a marketing agency. Although we requested one to test that feature and no one's called us, so we started doing it ourselves. So we now offer 360 images as well as walkthroughs. This is great from a user point of view. A user gets to see before they try, before they buy. They get to see the environment, especially when you're thinking about like restaurants or bars. Definitely big time attractive to end users. And then, unless you've got a hole in the wall, and then unless that's what they're looking for, that's your own decision. Question and answer section, something to be aware of and underutilized. Like I said, a lot of business owners don't know that that exists. And so they're then allowing users to come in and act as the, expert, when really it should be the business owner curating those questions, providing very robust on-brand answers. Okay, those are my underutilized options. I've got a couple of quick tips for you on the tracking thing. Again, these are called UTM links, which I forget what stands for. It's like, I can't even remember. I want to call it universal tracking. I forget. You can Google it. But if you plug in a UTM link, you're then able to segment your data downstream. This is a picture of Google Analytics. And what you see, let me move my little window. Number 4 there, you see Google My Business website button. We're able to see all the stats on the traffic that is happening from that Google My Business website button. If you don't have a UTM parameter link, a tracking link installed on your Google My Business website button, that traffic is all going to get lumped in with number 1, Google Organic. So you have just, or direct, depending on what they search for to get there. But then you have a more opaque data set. So this allows you to segment that data out and is a definite thing on your to-do list. Learn about trackable links, how to plug them in, or get a marketing agency to help you kind of manage this on a regular basis. Next is just a picture of Search Console. Again, able to segment data downstream. And what you're seeing here is a picture of Search Console. You can see that I've segmented out people on specific pages that have clicked it on the Google My Website button. We can see how many clicks. If I don't have these tracking links on that button, it is lumped in with my other Google data. So there you go. That's your why to the homework that I gave you earlier. All right, so let's get to Google My Business in action. How is this playing out in the real world? I've got a story for you. I call it the King of Noodles, or why your small business should be paying attention to Google My Business, but that was too much of a mouthful, so I went with the King of Noodles. So me and my family, we are going to go see Amanda Palmer live at the Knitting Factory. I pulled that photo on the right from Google, but the one on the left is actually from my cell phone on a video where she comes out in her very first song, not on stage, but up in the balcony with nothing but her ukulele, and does Creep by Radiohead, and it was awesome. But I digress. Let's get to Google My Business. So, and how this plays out. So we're en route to this concert, about an hour out of Spokane. We're from Tri-City, so we've got about 3 hours to go. We're about an hour out. Wife looks at me and says, "Hey, what do you want for dinner?" And I'm like, noodles. And she gives me, let me get to it, because you got to see the side eye that it is. Okay, so I get some side eye because she thinks I'm goofing off, and she wants a plan. She wants to, we got baby in the back as well as grandma who's going to babysit while we're at the concert. So we are in the car, and she's like, "You can't have just noodles." And I'm like, "Well, it's not just noodles. You get the noodle bowl, and they put soft-boiled egg in it. They've got meat. They've got cilantro. They got everything." And she's like, "Okay, well, who has that?" And I'm like, "I don't know. Let me Google it." So, okay, you still with me? This is where you start paying attention, because I pull out my smartphone and I Google noodles Spokane. So, and I can show you what I got. So I get the right-hand side. So over here, let me move my little window. Noodles Spokane. I get this. I get the local pack, so we've talked about that before. This is local search, local SEO. Comes with a map, which I definitely need because I'm in the car. And I immediately eliminate the outlier because it's too far. I want to stay close to downtown where the concert's going to be at. I've got 2 pretty good options. I'm going to start vetting those. I start looking at their photos. I start looking at their reviews. I'm clicking on their Google My Business. I'm looking at all the stuff they got. I noticed that King of Ramen and Noodle Ramen House are close. They've both been getting reviews. Ramen House has more reviews, but King of Ramen has a slightly better overall rating, and I like the name better. I like what I saw in the photos better, and so I start looking at that one. I noticed that they have the chat turned on. I chat with them and say, "Hey, do you guys take reservations?" They responded in like less than 30 seconds with, "Yes, we do. How can we help you?" And I'm like, "Hey, I'm outside of town. I figure out how long it's going to take me." In like, I don't know, maybe 45 seconds, I have a reservation for me and my family. I click on Google Maps. Google Maps takes me to their front door, drops me off where they have a table waiting for me along with a high chair for my little. Done. Inside of Google My Business, never went to a website, didn't make a phone call. This is something that businesses have to be paying attention to now and into the future as things evolve, especially as voice search even takes that to the next level. So I've got a cool photo for you here. We had an awesome time at the concert. This is the noodle bowl I had. That's my mom eating noodles, and that's my little guy at the table in his high chair. So I give you all that just to show you what's happening out in the wild, why you should be paying attention, and how it's playing out on the front lines. All right, I've got a few more things before we get to our pitch. We've got a special offer for you today, as well as the freebie. Ashley, how are we doing on time? What time is it?
It's been almost an hour.
What?
Yeah, it's about time to wrap it up.
All right, let's wrap it up. So Google GMB for restaurants. You can order online. You can connect a third-party app. I encourage you to do that if you have a restaurant, or talk to us because we have some interesting ways that we can help restaurants level up their Google My Business. Google has created a marketing liaison site that's not technically Google My Business. I've got a link to this in the PDF that we're going to give you. They have things like ordering stickers, ordering posters that all say things like, hey, review us on Google, or they'll take your review and they'll put it onto a poster and you can actually download that, print it off. Really kind of an interesting thing. It's not technically Google My Business, but is related. I'm going to go, what can go wrong with Google My Business? Duplicates, don't have them. Make sure you kill any duplicates. Work with support to make that happen, or a marketing agency. Spam, watch out for negative reviews or edits. Anybody can suggest an edit to your listing, so watch out for that. That's why you want to have control of that dashboard and be in there on a regular basis. Negative reviews, suspensions. We've got a link to the how to reinstate if you need to, if you get suspended. Recently, when Google rolled out some updates, it created a bunch of suspended listings. We had to go do that for a listing. We recently got it reinstated after jumping through their hoops. Support timelines do vary. You can get a phone call. I've got a phone number that you can click on to actually call Google. I don't think it's clickable in the PDF. It's the one link that's not clickable. But it's a phone number that you can use to actually get in touch with somebody who can help you. Watch out for new features. They're always coming down the pipeline. Features are changing. Other wackiness because it is a product in flux. Okay, we got a special offer. I know a lot of you on the webinar today are going to be past clients of ours. Maybe we've already optimized your Google My Business, and for that I thank you and know that that optimization is still there. It just does pay dividends to keep paying attention as new features are rolled out. If you haven't optimized it, we have a couple $100 off for you. If you sign up today, like 24 hours, there's going to be a link after the webinar that'll take you to a special page on our website that not everybody can get to. So there's an offer for you there. We do have, as it used to be that we just kind of did that. We optimized this listing for companies and then kind of showed them how to use it and manage it and left them to their own devices. And more we're seeing value where we can provide value as an experienced marketing agency to this evolving suite of tools where we come alongside and we're kind of there managing that, taking care of some of the day-to-day, week-to-week, and then have an open dialogue with you as well when new features roll out and how do we want to handle this and some strategy. Anyway, we've got a monthly that you can save a bunch of money on if you sign up today. Those are monthly prices for monthly Google My Business Management. So there's considerable savings to be had. You can look on the website as well. We'll have all this information about what's included on which package on the website. I'm going to kind of jump over it for now. I do want to get to the freebie. I appreciate you guys being here. This is a freebie that you can get to after this webinar. There should be 2 links that pop up. One's a survey. We appreciate any feedback on how we can improve, any topics you'd like to see later, as well as another link should open and have a link directly to the website where you can download this PDF. These buttons, the big red blocky buttons, are all clickable links in that PDF. If you can't sign into Google My Business, how to use Google Posts, how to contact Google My Business support. The community forum is a link, and Google has built a robust community forum around Google My Business so that you can go ask other people if you're having issues. And I'll let you kind of explore the rest of those. There's the study from Bright Local, but if you have questions on any of that, don't be afraid to hit me up. And then I went with Bueller.
All right, thanks, Josh. And we have had some questions throughout the webinar, so I'm glad we've gotten a chance to answer those. I have pasted that link in the chat if anybody wants to access it there. If you do have any questions, I know we're running out of time. I do have one question that I want to ask you, Josh, right before we get going, because I know we're out of time. But why would anybody hire an agency to claim and optimize their listing when they can do it themselves?
That's a good question. You can do a lot of your marketing yourself, across the board. It comes down to time, money, experience, and really the biggest one for me is time. It's not a ton of money that we're talking about here. So it comes down to that. And that's a question for a business owner to answer. Do they have time to do it, or do they have to dedicate someone on their staff to do it? And then if the answer is no, that's when you start looking for a little bit of help. Or if the answer is that you want to be kind of a front runner, an early adopter, that takes more time. So that, again, becomes a question for the business owner. Do you have time to focus on that, or do you want to focus on what you do best, which is running your business? So it just becomes a question of time to me, and then the money. You want to make sure that you're getting enough value for what you're paying for, and that, yeah.
All right, sounds good. Well, we're out of time, so I'm going to go ahead and talk just a brief little plug for our next webinar. It's going to be about ADA compliance. You want to switch the slide, Josh, please?
Yep.
ADA compliance, September 25th at noon. Be joined by Taylor and Travis from our team to talk about website ADA compliance and some of the practical implications that any business with a website needs to know about the ADA law and how it affects your business. So please join us then. Thanks for joining us tonight. Thanks for sticking it out with us. If you have any additional questions, our contact information is on the screen. You can also contact us at our contact page at cougardigitalmarketing.com. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Thanks, Josh, again for presenting.
Thank you. Appreciate everyone being here, and we'll see you in the search pages.
All right. Have a great afternoon, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.